I'm back.
Hola.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. We are also simulcasting with KGRADB.com, KGRA on YouTube, and KGRA on Facebook. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, Mr. Ken DaCosta. Apologies for not being here last week, or for those of you who don't like me, apologies for me being back. But I'm only back temporarily.
I've heard it both. I've heard it both ways.
I bet the chat room last week was like, thank God he's not around. But where I am at, most of you are somehow aware of, especially if you've been, trolling my Facebook page and you've seen everything and know everything about me. But I've been working in the bar business for about 30 years. And here in Daytona, it's what we call season. It's a 1-2 punch. Last week was the Daytona 500. Or just a week and a half ago. And then we have Bike Week coming up starting this Wednesday. 10 days of earplugs because there'll be 500,000 motorcycles or something to that. Just an incredible amount of bikes. And with the weather you guys are having up north, Ken, we may have a few more this year.
Yeah, we're walking on the snow up here. It's cold, dude. Hey, do you know who Wally Pipp is?
No, I do not.
Okay. Wally Pipp was a first baseman for the New York Yankees back in the 20s. Okay. And he got injured, and this young kid took his place named Lou Gehrig and went on to play 2,129 straight games. Okay. So we had Cody and Satori on last week. I wouldn't miss too many more if I were you.
It's in that direction, isn't it? I got 1 foot out the door. I got 1 foot out the door. I'll have to deal with it, though.
I don't want to be calling you Wally Pipp. No.
Yeah.
Although do not. Pretty cool name.
Yeah, it is, and it sounds like a baseball player's name. It does, or a race car driver, one or the other. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget also a reminder bell for upcoming content. We'll be talking about that here very shortly, and also the thumbs up for us. Because you like us. You really like us. Subscribe button is very important, too. I think, Ken, you were looking at the percentages of people who come and watch this show regularly who have not subscribed yet. What was that percentage?
Yeah, give me a close-up here. I want to appeal this public service announcement. I want to appeal to
I don't have the background music keyed. You might want to do it from your end. It's up to you.
No, I don't need that. It's like, listen, so there is something called the prophecy, otherwise known as the algorithm on YouTube, and we know who's watching us, male, female, what country, and all of that good stuff. And it came to my attention that 45% of the viewers of this show are not subscribed. That's almost half of you. So all I can do is, before the threats start or anything like that, we know where a lot of you live. It's like, for the low cost of nothing, you can subscribe to this channel. 45% of you. Let's get with the program, get on board, because we do appreciate it. Okay, rant over.
And if you guys don't, we can't, if you guys do not subscribe, we cannot create a budget to afford to have guests on like we have tonight. John Zaffis is going to be joining us here in just a minute or two. Godfather Paranormal. We can and we will go on about our connections with him and the amazing career that he has had. But before we jump into our interview tonight, there are some topics that we wanted to definitely bring up to you. One certainly is something that none of you are oblivious to, and that happens to be what's going on in the Ukraine. And political parties aside, it's just a scenario that's it's tough to imagine. It's like if we were invading Canada, our neighbors, and the suffering that's going on there. And, Ken, you used the perfect irony behind it about what they were saying, that their only targets were going to be military installations, correct?
Yeah, well, that was the premise, and it was a peacekeeping thing and all the rest of that. So I mean, I'm upset looking at this because really, to me, it looks like, they're invading Providence, Rhode Island. This is not the jungles of Southeast Asia.
Right.
We're talking about an urban area, a developed area, um, and it's distressing at this point. And I mean, I don't know what else we can do. Is, I hate to use the cliche thoughts and prayers, but in lieu of anything else, I mean, I know that there are things set up that people can go and donate to help these people. And if you can, go ahead and please do that. I wish we had somewhere that we could direct you in, but they're out there. But this is beyond tragic. This is, and from what I understand, even the people in the Soviet Union are having some misgivings about this. And again, not a political thing. It's a humanitarian thing. And
Right.
when I see what's going on here, I mean, you ask yourself why. I mean,
Indeed.
a show of strength just because we can, but there are parameters on this, that lines that can't be crossed, whether everybody likes it or not. The idea of let's just go wipe everybody out. You can't. We can't. It's not like that. All we can do is support. So our thoughts and our sincere prayers go out to the people of the Ukraine and
Absolutely.
everyone here in this country who immigrated from the Ukraine or has family there or lineage there. Believe me, no one's very happy with what's going on in this day and time. It's not 1962 anymore, but someone forgot to tell some people that, I
Yeah.
guess.
And with again thoughts and again the power of prayer also that people are hoping that somehow reason will win over one way, shape, or form, or with what's going on over there, that again families are interconnected between Ukraine and Russia and some of the neighboring countries. That there is going to be an outpour of empathy for all of these people and what they're going through, and
Mm.
they will they're standing strong, and God protect them.
Well, in a lot of cases where the same language is spoken, not all, there are differences, but in many places, the same language is spoken, and these are the people that we decided to go in and, whatever the end game of this is, it's unimaginable, but, you know, so.
Yeah. One last thing from a serious perspective is in regards to a dear friend of ours that departed just last month. Uh, my goodness, before Ghost Brothers, before Amish Paranormal, before any of these demographic geared shows, this this young man, um, to me, he was just happened to come across the show Dead Air when we were still just a phone-in show, and wound up being part of the family eventually. We had so many shows on the Dead Air network of family programming, and he comes from Boston, and his team was called Paranormal Hood. Um, the black man, enormous, tall individual, which is rare to find anybody taller than Ken. But we grew to know him, we grew to love him, and over the umpteen years that he was a host on the show, we got to get together at the Ocean State Paracon. We got to get together at the uh, Rolling Hills Asylum and spend some time with him. But just salt of the earth person, and I do believe also. Ken, 1 year at Ocean State after I hosted, and I couldn't make it up the next year because of family issues. That he stepped into that role of host for
Yeah.
the Ocean State Paracon.
Yeah, we had asked him to come in, and I, of course, in Jiggy, Joey Webb is who we're talking about, otherwise known as Jiggy.
Yeah,
Um,
always known him as Jiggy.
we had to make sure that it's like this is a family event, Jiggy, and it's like, and he was seamless. He was just one of those very dry humor,
Yeah.
type of guys that I love so much that, you know, when you walk away 3 minutes later, you get the joke, you know. So we were both saddened by his sudden passing at a young age. But, you know, he will always and forever be fondly remembered just for being the life of the party and an outspoken voice with not a lot of filters on, but a good heart, you know,
Yes.
a really good heart. And we'll miss him in the paranormal field. And, you know, we pass our condolences on to family and friends.
Yeah, and we'll miss him in our lives. And the best Shaq impersonation I have ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
It was the best.
Yep.
But we wanted to bring up these topics. We thank you for your patience, and it's time to get on with our amazing
Yeah,
guest
let's have
tonight.
a little bit of fun here.
Yeah, Ken, why don't you do the honors, sir?
I don't even know what you can say about this individual because you've read the promos. We've put them out there. You know who our guest is tonight. We consider him a contemporary because he knows what it's like to be doing this without social media and cell phones and flying by the seat of your pants. And he had two of the most incredible mentors that this field has ever known. And he is a tremendous person, tremendous investigator in his own right. So without further ado, let's bring on the man himself, John Zaffis. Come on in, Johnny.
Yeah.
Hey guys, Ken, George, how you guys doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well, man.
Good.
Doing well. Anything you wanted to add about Joey Webb? I know you guys knew each other also.
Jiggy, yeah. I mean, again, he was one of those types of people you could not like. I mean, instantly when him and I, started talking, we immediately started picking on each other, and he looked right at me and he goes, "You and I will get along okay." And it was just hysterical because every time him and I would see each other, we would just start arguing. And I remember the last time him and I were together, we were arguing, and there was like 4 or 5 women sitting there thinking we were having a serious fight and an argument. Then he comes over and picks me right up and hugs me. So, again, it's he was one of those types of people, and can be very well missed.
Yeah, one of a kind, definitely one of a kind. So sad to hear him go.
Got to thank you, John, for coming on with us. I know you did a cameo with us about a month ago, and to come back again. And I quote Chris Fleming. Chris Fleming, many years ago, when again we were doing just the phone-in show, kept messaging him, "When are you going to come on? When are you going to come on in?" And finally, I got a hold of him, and he goes, I said, "I'm so sorry for harassing." He goes, "No, the squeaky wheel gets the grease." And George, I apologize for not getting to you sooner. And so same thing I did with John. I kept harassing him on Facebook. "When are you going to come on? When are you going to come on?" But luckily, right now, the only reason I think, Ken, that John was able to come on tonight is because of the weather up there in Connecticut. He's doing a home version of Frozen, and he's Elsa. That's all I can figure out.
Wow. Wow. Really? The home version? Great. I love it. Like, you laugh. They don't know what it's like up here to fall on your ass 3 times a day, John.
Hey, I had to go up 3 levels of my my skin protection down here. It's been hard. The sun has been very, very strong down here, and I just it's unbearable. I don't know how you guys can even imagine. You couldn't survive down here by no means.
Next time you put any of it, rub some sand in that thing. So, John, you came on with us a few weeks back with the kids, with Cody and Satori, but we were talking about what they're dealing with right now, and fascinating stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on, because since that time, we've been on 3 more investigations, and I'm going to tell you a little story later, because there's some weird stuff going on attached to this. But we didn't have a chance to catch up with you, really, and just say, for the last few months, the last year, we had all this COVID going on and all the rest of this stuff. What have you been up to? How you been biding your time there?
Doing the best that I could. Again, I think with the majority of it, just trying to be cautious, trying to be guarded. I think that the most bizarre thing was that prior to everything actually hitting, I was in midstreams working with a couple of priest friends of mine, and I was setting up to go help them, and then they had notified me. They go, "No, everything's getting shut down. We can't do anything," and nothing had hit here yet.
Hmm.
So I was just like, "What do you?" It made no sense. It wasn't adding up, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Then everything hit. But anyhow, I think that probably for most of us, especially that do investigations, we go out there and speak, or intermingling and everything. I think it's the hardest thing in the world to do was to stay confined and to
Hmm.
just pull pull back and just not go out there and do anything. And it was a difficult time. I know a lot of us, emotionally, it really messed us up big time.
Just the
So again,
isolation.
the isolation of it, yeah,
Yeah.
because I was, not used to it or anything, and again, it was to that point. But now here we are, 2 years down the road, and opening back up. Went back out and started doing some investigations.
Knock
Just
on
starting
wood.
to get back into again, doing the events and everything, taking it light, but moving forward, trying to just get back acclimated with it. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm having a hard time with it. When I
Hmm.
go out, it's difficult to be around people. George, can you imagine that? Me having a problem being around people?
It's incomprehensible.
But it's difficult. It's just difficult to try and get reacclimated with that. And it's just strange. It's all just strange because
Yeah.
I never thought I'd make it to ever see anything like this in my life. Never in a
No,
million years.
no. And it's a
Never.
different thing too, because like I speak for myself in heading up a group where you have other people you ultimately feel responsible for.
Correct.
So
Yes.
it's not like load up the cars and who's going to go and you make those plans. There's just other dynamic involved in this too, because
Hmm.
no offense to anybody, but as far as the people I know what their situation is with shots and it's so forth and so on. But I'm sorry,
Hmm.
I don't know what someone else is doing,
That's the problem.
whether
Yep.
to bring them in or to go to a residence or forget residence anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult thing, and you hate to walk on eggshells and be looking sideways at people, and you try to not be mistrustful, but you got to take care of business, man.
Mhm. Yeah. It's a tough call because I'm same thing with me. Here again, we all know, but I would feel terrible. Somebody's going out to work with somebody or do something, and somebody ends up getting sick, catching. It's just a very weird thing, and it's
Yeah,
hard because we don't know how to judge it, how not to judge it, and again, it's just to that point now after 2 years where I'm a little bit more comfortable with going back out and starting to do things again.
yeah.
Most of my stuff has been done by emails and by phone over the past year and a half, almost 2 years. So,
And that's a great point too, because that's kind of part of what we do when
mhm,
people talk about investigations and people call you come and do an investigation. You have to tell them, well, pump the brakes a little bit, let's have a chat first, because a lot of times people just need a little bit of counsel.
yeah.
But one of the things that I've always respected about you, John, among 100 other things, is that while you're doing this stuff, there's a lot of people, gee, I haven't heard from John in a while. And
Hmm.
it's like, no, I'm still doing investigations, but sometimes there's value in not telling the world exactly
Hmm.
what's going on and what you're doing. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
Good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, and,
You
and
know?
it tends to see again where just like we're all quarantined in, and you got somebody who is a recognizable face in the paranormal, John Zaffis, that's out there. People who are home are looking for things to be entertained by, or looking for things to get involved with, and whether it's
Mhm.
becoming a client or becoming an investigator, they are still searching out there for those figureheads in the field. John happened to be one of them, and it's And again, I thank you for coming on with us tonight, John, and doing this interview. But I'm sitting there going, I can only imagine since the pandemic started how many invites he's had over that time. And there's got to be points in time where John needs to kind of just step away and not be that personality, but just be John Zaffis, the husband and the father and the grandfather, and just
Yeah.
do you without having all this exposure on a regular basis. That's got to be taxing.
It's a balance.
It is. It's I've always looked at it, and everybody in the family is used to me coming and going. So, again, over the course of years, missing birthdays, missing out on a lot of the different things. Again, now I take that step back, and over the past several years, I just go, no, I'm not, no, because I don't know how much longer I'll be around. I don't know, I don't really like, missing out on a lot of the different things. So, I
Are you
take that
moving
step
out of country? Which are you moving out of country? What do you mean you won't be around much longer?
I said, you never know. You never know.
Don't even, dude.
Look, first thing I'm going to do is come down there and haunt that plant right behind you. You see that plant? I'm going to be haunting it.
God help you, it's plastic, but it's right next to it's right next to the Conjuring poster. So you
Yeah, you take Andrea with him, No, I mean, I think that we all have a shelf life here, and I think about that a lot of times. Do I want to keep? Because listen, we're the same age, so you look
Yeah.
better than I do, but we're the same age. But like, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to keep traveling? Do I want to do these things, or just do I want to kind of turn things over, the bulk of it, to somebody else and just do something else that I want to do? Whether it's writing about it or talking about it or whatever the case may be. And it's like, I can't picture like being 75 years old, out there, climbing upstairs, going into attics and basements. I mean, always be involved because I love it, but listen,
Yeah.
I mean, we're all different. We all have a shelf life as far as,
Well, again, too, Ken, I hear you, and I look at it now as, sometimes I'll think about different things, and, somebody's saying, well, this crawl space is haunted, or there's something in this cove here or something. I have to take that step back and think about it. I go, okay, yeah, I don't bounce back as quick as I used to.
No way.
So, again, a lot of in situations, I'll say, good, you want to go in there and check it out and see what's going on, feel free to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I don't actually, even though everything's gone the way it has for the past couple of years, still now, again, I'm looking at that from a perspective also, Ken. Again, we're coming back out. There's a ton of things, and when people ask me, I go, do I really want to do it? Or, do I want to take some more time? Or, the funniest thing is now, and it took up 10 years, a lot of times I'll say to my wife, I go, okay, is there anything going on? Anything, with the family or anything? And, and she'll just look at me too. She goes, I don't know. She's like, I don't know if I could take that or not. She's all of a sudden, you're like, usually you're packed up and out the door before you even know what's going on. So, but I do. I just take that step back now and just look at it. And again, too, Ken, I mean, we just look at the big picture of it now. I mean, is there any street corner in any town, any state, or anywhere where there isn't a paranormal group now?
Well,
I mean, it's it's just I
I
mean,
live in Rhode Island. There's like 30 groups.
so I mean, again, it's like, I'm just watching it and seeing it, and again, there's an awful lot going on out there over the past several years. So
I know it. Hey, listen, I'm not going to miss going into attics or basements. Like I'm like 6'4". I come out of there. The top of my head looks like a swiffler. I got stuff stuck to me. I look like a chia pet coming out of there. On the other side of this, on like a more serious note, though, now that we've got over COVID and we've lost so many souls because of it or associated with it, paranormally speaking, I don't know if we can tell the future, but do you see something on the other side of this when we start getting out and about? Because I know suddenly, like, the calls are starting to come again.
yeah.
Do you think we're going to be addressing a lot of those type of things on the other side of this?
No.
You know?
I feel, that as we're going forward and everything's opening back up, Ken, I'm a very firm believer everything happens and it parallels that, as we're going along. You know, um, the sadness of the fact of so many of us losing people behind COVID and everything else. I think one of the key things that is going to come out of this is the fact that a lot more people are more aware of their environments. A lot more people
Mm,
because we've been staying in. A lot of us got more back into the basics of just uh, understanding and watching what's happening. So again, I think things aren't really going to be elevated, but I think there's people paying a lot more attention to circumstances and different things. So
mm,
I'm looking at it more from that hopefully a few more breakthroughs might end up happening. There might be some more information that we might be able to get revealed. Because to me, that's always the most important thing is to keep digging in there, just keep searching, just keep trying to get some of the answers. Um, on the flip side of it, I think we're really going to be going into another area with other things being more opened up. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but because I've noticed a difference when being out there and being around people. I think people got a lot more meaner and nastier, but I think that's
mm.
from being confined. I really do. Um, but I don't know. I'm trying to look at it from the positive now
Yeah.
going forward, and hopefully something will be gained out of this whole thing that all of us just went through.
Yeah, I think when we
Amen.
talk about the paranormal, you're talking about a very small part of life in general.
Hmm.
At this point, we just want people to be safe, sound, healthy, get back to their lives, and be a little more positive out there.
Yeah.
Because my goodness, I know I want to talk a little bit about that later. George, do you want to jump in on something here?
Well, we do have a couple of questions in the chat that I would like to get to, but I also want to get back to the John Zaffis origins. Again, whether you're watching Haunted Collector or you're watching any of these shows that John gets an opportunity to come in and talk about, it's usually about demonology or what's happening in the paranormal now. But I want to take a step back to origins. Let me ask you first, Ken, what was John Zaffis doing in the 1970s as far as
Yeah, both Ken and I are laughing.
I can only go by my own experience, but if John was anything like me, there was some really good times.
well
Some
Hey,
it could it
really
hey,
could
good
it,
times with our buddies, and it was
and
still a ways to go before we started to have to get serious about stuff.
no, it's
But
good, but not exactly the answer I was looking for. No, John in the 1970s was actually in acting, and he played General Zod in the movie Superman. So
yeah, John
that
would
is
be the one on the right, correct?
that is the correct answer. That is correct answer. Um, John, give us a little insight. Again, the origins. Your connection, of course, to your uncle, but
yeah.
when did you set foot into this field?
When I was 16, and actually, this is going to be marking 50 years now. That
Maybe.
15 to 16 was when I really started looking at it from the other perspectives after seeing and having something appear at the foot of my bed. And again, too, it was a Wednesday night. I wasn't partying. I had school the next day. So, I know I wasn't imagining it. Went downstairs, told my mom about it. And, now for most people that don't know it, Ed Warren and my mother were twins, but they were night and day. My mother was petrified of the paranormal. You would say anything to her, you would ask her about growing up, she'd start crying in a haunted house. She would never talk about it. Never. totally petrified of it. And she would always say, "Go ask my brother. Go ask my brother." Anything I would ever ask her, she would never answer it and just tell me to ask her brother. But anyhow, you know, that is basically what set it off and got me involved with it. Started going to, locations, checking places out. The most familiar place around here would have been Phelps Mansion. It was known in the late 1800s. People came in from all over the world to investigate that. Right here in Stratford, Connecticut, Dudleytown.
Yeah.
I mean, Booth Memorial Park. A lot of these places I went to, being a teenager and checking them out, and just started advancing and getting involved with it, and just digging more into it. And then when I got into my 20s, that's when I got involved with the demonology. I still can remember that. That day just stays clear. I was dropping off food. I think it was pierogies, if I remember right.
Oh,
I think I was dropping them off
And here we go.
for Ed and Lorraine. Anyways, and I said, Lorraine, I go, where's my uncle? She goes, he's downstairs. Why, dear? I said, I think I want to know about the demonology stuff. Hey! She starts screaming for him, and he's coming up. Anyway, we went downstairs. We're sitting down, and we got into this in-depth conversation about the whole thing. And I mean, it went on and on and on. And, he was so serious and everything. And he leaned forward and he looked at me and he goes, what do you think about all this? I said, I'm not worried about any of it. Then he leaned even farther forward and looked at me. He goes, I am. You are my nephew. You are my blood. And I don't want to have to deal with my sister if anything happens to you. that was, but then that's when I had those opportunities. Ken, you know as well as I do, 20, 30 years ago, we couldn't talk about a lot of this stuff.
Couldn't talk about any of it.
Yeah.
Either that or you just had to deal with,
Yeah.
all the crap that you got and the eye rolling and and you just kind of moved on. It wasn't you didn't wear it like kind of like a badge of honor that you would like something different. If you were going to stay invested in this 30 years ago, you had to do it on the down low. You just went about your business because, I mean, your aunt and uncle were a little bit different. They were just kind of like, we don't care. We're putting this out there. But for most of us, hey, listen, I mean, we're still trying to fit in. We're trying to find ourselves, who we are, and hang out with people. And you just, don't want to be the weirdo in the room. But every once in a while, you run into somebody who thought, hey, that's the coolest thing going. Take me to a haunted house,
Yeah. But that's what always, has helped me through the course of all these years. Because, when it came to them two, they let it all out. They went public, they did this, they did that, brought everything out. And the thrashings behind the scenes were unbelievable, because I can remember all the different things that would occur, all the things that would happen. And, it was amazing to watch, and they would still, brush the dust off, Ken, and they would still move forward.
Yeah.
They would still keep going. And my uncle said, do you believe in the paranormal? Do you believe in ghosts? And I would go, yeah. And he goes, you stand on what you believe in. And I always, kept that with me. And, because people, when I get criticized, but a lot of it just rolls off of me. Why? I watched them two get the hell beat out of them, and they would still stand strong. They would still stand on their 2 feet and would still push forward. So again, that's why a lot of times people say, well, you never say anything. You never come up against a lot of the different things. And I go, for what? It's a battle that fine. People want to take it on. They want to fight it. Go ahead, knock your socks off. Again, I know there's so much out there. There's a lot that we just don't understand. We try to comprehend it. We try to understand it, keep moving forward. But I think it's the whole thing. I know it is with me. It's still that definitive thing. Is there a hell? Is there is there heaven? Are there these different things? Are there different planes? There's so many things that we just don't understand, but we're trying to connect it. We're trying to figure it out. I think we've gotten a lot closer. I think a lot of the
I think
equipment
so.
and a lot of the equipment and the recordings and all the different things that people capture are so critical and so important for our field. I really do.
Do
Yeah,
you
and
think, I just had a quick question, Joe. Do you think that there's too much of a preoccupation with proving something?
Yes.
I mean, I know that we're trying to document those things, whether it's by complete accident, right place at the right time, which is usually the case,
Right.
or it's predetermined. You know, you're setting up cameras
Hmm.
and I know there's a lot of people who are so invested in the technology, and it makes sense. We live in a technological age, so technology is going to come into the paranormal just like it does any vocation in life.
Hmm.
But a human experience is still a human experience.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, and the idea is I got off of this, Jesus, more than 10 years ago, this idea of I got to prove it to science that, you know, and it's like I didn't give a damn after a while. If you had an experience, you have your answer. Maybe we can take it a step further, but are we just too preoccupied? I hear people all the time say our goal is to prove ghosts exist. And in my word, you know, you've known me for how I think that's the wrong approach because you're already going in preconceived like I'm here to prove ghosts exist.
Yeah.
And I just think we fall in love too much with having to prove to the world, and sometimes the greatest experiences
Are missed,
happen to people that yeah, or
and they missed it.
or
Yeah.
people who aren't investigating; they're just having supper.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think, again, and it's funny because I've been having these conversations lately with people. I go, so, again, I'm not knocking it. We need the technology, we need the equipment.
Right.
But everybody is so focused on that now you're missing the experiences.
yes,
You're missing the bottom, of what's happening, what's helping to connect it, what's helping it to move forward.
yeah,
Because everybody's trying to prove or disprove, and you're missing the whole experience with it.
Right.
yeah,
But again, I think one thing that I take the step back with, and I try to comprehend it, is that t- today, well, not necessarily just today, but over the past several years, I do not think it's healthy to be involved with the paranormal 24/7. I don't.
Oh,
no,
thank God,
And
no.
I'm watching these people. Everything is pure normal. Everything they do, everything they get involved with, no matter what it is. So, again, and I always tell you, you have to separate the two because you're letting it consume you. And once you let it consume you, it just, again, what is that about? What is the intent? What is the purpose once you're letting it consume you to that point?
Yeah.
Again, eh, I'm just watching it and I see it to that point now where it's just like, if I want to talk about Christmas, I want to talk about Christmas. I don't want to talk about ghosts. I
Yeah.
want to talk about, somebody's birthday. I want to talk about, anything else. And people have to draw the paranormal into it right away.
Yeah.
And, and I take that step back and go, you're missing it. You're just missing the whole thing. So,
I love when people are
yeah.
talking about next week. I'm going to go with my para friends in my para car to the para restaurant and have a para parmesan.
In
And
our
it's
pair
like
of
we
t-shirts.
put para in front of everything, and it's like there's still a life to be led with here, you know. And this is why when people say, "Should you investigate your own homes?" and I know that it's like, "Oh, you don't know who you're going to call on," and you open the door. I get all of that. But my other thing is I've seen people become obsessed by it.
yes. Oh, yeah.
I've gone to a home and then we've done a return thing, and this guy's got an array of equipment that he just ordered on Amazon there. And it's like, you need to go for a walk and get
We've
out
all
of this
seen it.
house.
We've all seen it. And it's
You
a
know?
horrible, horrible thing to see. Horrible thing to see. John, I got some questions I got to get to here in the chat before we get to the top of the hour and take our break. Our very special guest, John Zaffis, renowned demonologist, paranormal investigator, and one hell of an American. Is our first question. Of course, some of the people on Facebook still haven't done their connection, so it just says Facebook user. Are exorcisms public record?
Hey, that's a good question.
Yes. Okay. Are exorcisms public record? No. Very rare to see from most denominational perspectives that this is out there in the public, unless it's something that got out there or, the press got called into it. The majority of the cases I work with, when I work with spiritual people, priests, ministers, rabbis, shaman, medicine men, 90% of these people do not like to be brought out into the public. They have no interest in it. They like to go in, help people, and move forward. Again, so I respect that. If people do go public, then it is what it is. Most of your clergy has no interest in coming to the forefront and bringing, all that, unless, okay, I've known several clergy people that have come to the forefront. Then they'll turn around and tell me in the background, I wish I left well enough alone. And I go, again, it's just one of those types of things where I don't know how, even cases, there's so many cases that'll never see the day of light. The people don't want it. They don't want it public. They don't want to be involved, or have any exposure or anything. That's okay. That's fine. I've never changed over the years. I go in. You want my help? I'll do what I can to help you. I can't do it. Let's see if we can't get somebody else in there that can do it to help you. That's fine. You want to close that door and move on past it? I have no problems with that. None.
Great answer. It is.
Yeah, good question, too.
Yeah. We have our good friend Jeff Hilton is asking, John, what is the number one opportunity you've missed in the past that you would take the time to do now? Water skiing.
Water skiing. I've tried that and almost drowned.
Pierogi chef.
Pierogi chef. Yeah, right. I wish I could make them.
Or, as Jeff said, or do you feel you've accomplished everything that you can in the field?
No. No, I don't feel I accomplished everything that I would like to. There's a lot of locations I'd like to go to. There's other people out there I'd like to have the opportunity to work with and do things with. There's still quite a bit on my plate, that I could say, gee, I'd like to have that opportunity. Okay, to go to Rome. I mean, not that I'm interested in Bible, but just to see it. I'm finally taking the advantage and going to Greece in 2023. So, there's so much, still on the plate there that I'm looking to venture into, just from the perspective of it. So, again, there's a lot out there that, I could say I'd like to be able to do, and move forward. Do I ever say that, there's things that I regret? We all do. There's a million and one things we all regret, but do I ever feel I made a mistake that I haven't learned from? I learn quick and I learn fast.
So I think what you're saying, John, and this is important, you still consider yourself a student.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I mean, and I guess the next level of that is once you don't, then you're stagnant.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Once you stop learning and you get caught in between, that rock and a hard place, it's a terrible, terrible thing. Because things evolve, things change. The way I investigate, the way I look at things is changed. I mean, okay, we'll go down this road with poltergeist cases. Years ago, Ken, I was always taught that it was the devil and the demon that was causing all these things to happen and occur. I don't look at it that way anymore.
Right.
It's psychokinetic energy. Certain people have the ability to build up and cause things to occur and happen. Can there be spirit associated with it? Sure, there could be, but there's so many other ways and avenues that I look at things over the course of years and changed the way I look at things. It was the same thing like years back. Somebody got scratched. Somebody got pushed. It was a demon. No. If a person was a mean, rotten type of person in life, they're going to be like that in the spirit form.
Yeah.
So, again, I look at things very openly when it comes into a lot of it now. With it, don't get me wrong, I still keep my guard up and I'm guarded and careful with stuff, but I view a lot I continuously. And I think once a day comes when I stop, when someone could walk up to me and talk to me and have a conversation about something, and I can't take that in and go, good possibility. The possibilities are there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those of you who think John's going to go to Greece in 2023 to paranormal investigate, no, he's going there to learn more recipes because he is a chef du jour.
Oh my gosh.
He loves to cook, and his trademark macaroni and cheese is still an international secret. Nobody
Chef
knows.
Boyard Zaffis.
Yeah. Let's get these final questions in before we get the break here. Aaron Bush asks, of all the things you do, Johnny, what makes your soul the happiest?
Oh, just about everything.
I'd accept that.
I mean, being around the kids, being around my grandkids, being around people, being around my friends. One of the things that I reconnected with very, very deeply, and a lot of you always see me, I'm always posting pictures when I'm out walking around, especially when the full moon, because it's just so charging. And, I walk 4 miles daily now. And, I just feel that it just, it relaxes me. It keeps me more grounded.
That's awesome.
I don't, there's, it's probably the craziest things that excite me. It's when, just hearing stories or different things of that caliber and things that, it's the least things that excite me or will entertain me, then you'd probably be surprised at that. It means just a hill of beans that it really doesn't mean much to anybody. But, and I don't the other thing too is I never look at anybody differently. To me, everybody's the same. I don't, okay, whoo, I get to meet this actor or actress up here. I'm not, or someone that's doing something and people are just shredding them for doing it or anything. I don't look at it that way. I want to talk to them. I want to find out who, where, when, why, what is it all about? Why are you doing it that way, and what's connecting it? To me, that's how I look at a lot of stuff to establish things.
That's a great way.
I wanted to do this really quick because I think the last time, God, and I'm probably wrong, but I think the last time I was in a room with you was 6 years ago, 7 years, whatever it was, at Salem. In that small amount of time, TikTok,
product
YouTube,
placement,
all the social media that's come out, all of these shows, all of these videos, so much of them. And I understand you got to evolve or die, and there's nothing you can do. But hey, this is how things are, putting them out there. But so much of this surrounds the negative aspects of it. And I understand, people want to see that. Fear sells. We know all. But how do you look at social media? Because I think for all the information that goes out there, there's also another side to it too, that I'm not so sure it's been all that good for the paranormal. I don't think it's been all that good for anything. Don't get me wrong. Politics, religions, there's a lot of opinions out there, but a lot of misinformation too. But it applies to what we do as well.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay. This is the most comical thing and why it stays with me as strong as it does is due to a lot of social media. Okay, I'm going to go back to, I think it was 98, 97, 98. I was helping my buddy. He was setting up a website for Ed and Lorraine when everything first started coming out. Okay. Yeah, Ken, you know what I'm talking about. And I think there was maybe 3 paranormal pages out on the web at that point in time.
It was like 10 teams.
Oh my! And we were so excited over this. Ed and Lorraine had come over to the house. We had the big old monitor. Mike was booting it up to show them what got created, what got pulled together, and everything like that. My uncle looked at it and turned around and walked away. And I'm like, but Ed would do that often. And then Lorraine stood there and she said, "Show me more, dear." So he was going through showing her all the different things and everything. She turned and she looked at us and she said, "This will be the tool of the devil, don't you know?" Walked out of the room. Man, does that stick to this point, to all these years. You know, again,
True.
and it was so true. And I was like, how did she freaking know that back then?
Yeah.
You know, she just looked and she said that, walked out of the room. And I remember my buddy Mike turning and looking at me. He goes, "What did I do?" I go, "You didn't do anything. That's the point." You know, I said, "You just have to understand the way they're looking at it." I says, I caught it quick. But again, and here we are now, you know, with so much going on, so much happening, you know, TikTok and, you know, Ken, there's a lot of them on mine, but I don't even go on them.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, I'm the one thing I usually do the most is Facebook, you know, because I'm probably the most comfortable with that. But again, with it and the onset of so much being out there, I mean, it's amazing. It just amazes me that there's just so much now that it just, you know, again, I'm wondering when it's going to start going the other way. Because George, you know it too. It always goes where we got these highs with all the paranormal and the TV shows. And I had said it was going to peak out 2 years ago, and it didn't happen.
No.
Yeah. Now it's even more.
It went the opposite way.
I mean, now, it amazes me just, you know, over the past month and a half, how many different shows and production companies and, you know, different people have contacted me and I'm like, you know, and then, you know, they'll pitch and they'll tell me all these, I go, that's been done to death already. How many times are we going to redo it? You know, but again, you know, it is what it is, but I don't know. I like I said 2 years ago, I thought for sure it was going to end up peaking, and sure the heck not happening.
See, I just think that it desensitizes people to the paranormal. The paranormal is a remarkable, amazing thing when it happens, but we are so saturated with it that, you know, people look at it like, it's not a big deal because there's so much of it out there. A great deal of it is just, it's garbage. It's made up. It's, you know, nothing provable, but, you know, it's views. People watch you, and that's what it's all about. So, so much of the negativity, and I think people get the wrong impression of that. You know, I'd like to see some more positivity. How do you get rid of the darkness? You open the shade, you open the door, you let the sunlight in. That's how you get rid of darkness. You let light in.
Yeah.
And there's got to be some kind of a balance to that.
Boy, oh boy, buddy, you could tell you and I are from the same era.
No. Get off my lawn, you goddamn thing.
But I don't, you know, again, to me, I don't watch much. I just don't anymore. Yeah. I again, if somebody said, you know, "Johnny, watch this," or I'm on this, or I'm going to do this, I'll sit there and just try to watch enough of it, you know, for the sake of it. And it's not that I'm knocking everybody. I know everybody just about that's on all the shows. So, you know, it is what it is. But again, seeing it and watching it, why we can't talk about Aunt Tilly coming through the house? She knocked over the cookie jar or something. I'm so fascinated with stuff like that. You know, exactly. Why is it, you know, Aunt Clara can't just walk through the room and she's humming or singing? I think that's the greatest stuff in the world. But no, you know, It's got to be dark. It's got to be, everybody. I don't get it. Again, it was something that I always strived for. And everybody, for any of you that know me behind the scenes when I was doing Haunted Collector, I'd fight like hell to do some of the things we did the way we did them. Because it would always, again, you got to get more scared. You got to get more scared. What the hell are you crazy? Wait, why can't you have anything positive, with some of the experiences?
Yeah, used to be.
I agree.
We had back one of your first visits with us on Dead Air when it was still a phone-in show. We had a lengthy conversation about that product placement, that when we have, these shows and the producers and the directors are sitting there going, no, you cannot laugh during the show. You can't do this during the show. And it was frustrating to you. I heard it in your voice and it was draining to you. So
you're telling John Zaffis, hey, you can't joke around and laugh. I love it.
It's the greatest thing. John,
that's what the funny thing is too, because again too, after everything, everybody would walk up and they'll go, we didn't even realize you had a sense of humor. And I'll go, please don't compare me to what you see on TV. Please don't. I am nothing like that person whatsoever. But again, you have to do what your bosses tell you to do, and
that's it, man.
And again, a key factor. I talk about this all the time to people. You go to work, you work 9 to 5. You got bosses you report to. You got people that you got to, tell you what to do, how to do it. It's the same thing in TV land in Hollywood. You still have to report to people. People stole. Yeah. So again,
we're trying to sell cornflakes here, folks.
Speaking of which, we are up against the clock. We have to go to commercial. When we come back on the other side, we'll continue we're having a great time, John. It's so nice to catch up with you, but stay right where you are, everybody. We'll be back. You are watching Dead Air Live on Dead Air Full Spectrum. Stay with us.
Hello, who is it? How'd you get this number?
Hey, Ken. Hey, man, it's George. Hey, man, what are you doing?
Right now, I'm trying to chop ice off of my deck here before somebody breaks their neck. What are you doing today?
Me? Oh, ghost hunting. Hey, listen, Bill from KGRE wants us to do a commercial, a promo for the show for them to play. Got any ideas?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to film a commercial or something like that. Well, hey, why don't we just do a montage or something, like clips from the show, and just call it a day?
Okay, yeah. Just put a bunch of highlighted parts of the show. Not a problem. I'll take care of that. Listen, have a great day. I'm almost done here.
Yeah, all right, man. Let me know how you make out, all right? Yeah, you bet. Be good. I'm okay.
Tony, I love you.
I love you too. Yeah, you know what? That's why I hate when they say all the people in the Northeast are so rude. I'm like, you, I'm down here and I'm being nice, and everybody's like, Not even a wave. I'm like, you're not going to get the coronavirus from waving at somebody.
A little close-up view of this. Check this out. Hello.
Hang on, let's get us on camera again so we can wave. Wave back, Robert.
Yeah.
If you wait.
Robert, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing some time, inviting us into your home.
I co-authored a book with Andrea Perrin. If anybody was not aware of that.
No one is aware of that.
No, and I've never been to the Conjuring House.
Yeah.
I wrote a book
We're going to do this again.
with Andrea Perrin, and I've still never been to the farmhouse. Did I mention I wrote a book with Andrea? I wanted to, it's over my shoulder there, and I've never been.
We took a 2-week absence from this, and
I've
now we're
never
back with
been to the Conjuring House.
Dude, I'm hiding, man. It's COVID. Oh, I'm sorry. It's
What's going on?
I love that blanket. I'm having blanket envy.
I know you are right now, right?
Yes.
Sometimes I move it around with my body. It's like Ouija meets Twister. In the middle of the night, I contact spirits just by rolling around on it naked.
Watch Dead Air on KGRADB.com Sundays from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
And also, don't forget to check out KGRA YouTube and KGRA on Facebook for all the amazing shows, guests, and topics. Did I mention that I wrote a book with Andrea Perrin?
In honor of 2/22, KGRA Digital Broadcasting is showing you double the love with a couple of new ways to enjoy the benefits of membership. Use promo code FEB22 to activate a 20% discount on your annual membership and receive a free 30-day trial. You will enjoy 24-hour access to your favorite hosts, engaging you on incredible topics. This includes all episodes in our members-only portals. Then imagine access to our award-winning classic episodes in the members-only KGRA DB Vault and gain access to KGRA DB special content and programming. Go to KGRADB.com and type promo code FEB22. That's FEB22.
Since the first humans shivered around campfires, staring nervously into the darkness beyond, we've shared stories of the terrible creatures of the night. You'll find them in every culture. Ghosts and the undead, shapeshifters and devils, and some things too terrifying to name. Today we tell ourselves such things are nonsense, nothing more than scary stories to frighten children. Until darkness comes, the lights go out, and we all know in the pit of our souls, there are monsters in the night. Join legend hunters Ronald Murphy and Christopher Rondina as they venture into darkness to unearth the strange and terrifying creatures of legend and folklore. Grab some garlic and wolfsbane and get ready for Monday Night Monsters. Premiering Monday, March 7th at 8 p.m. only on YouTube's Dead Air Full Spectrum.
Orson Welles, are you in here? Orson Welles, are you in here? Orson Welles, are you in here? Orson Welles, are you in here?
Don't leave them on. I love it.
Can't touch this.
What the hell? John, what were you doing in that lobby?
Yeah, what were you thinking? Go ahead.
I'm almost crying. I'm laughing so hard. Oh my God, I remember that. That was the Ziggity Shuffle. Remember?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was so good to see some of those people. It's weird because I'm standing here laughing. I'm like, it's been so many years since so many of us seen each other.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, this is like some serious paranormal talk that we got going on here. This is a serious show. We need
when we get together, whether it's the Ocean State Paracon sale, when we get together, this is what it's like, ladies and gentlemen. We don't sit there and tell her what's the scariest place you've ever. I don't think that enters into conversation at all. It never does.
Anything
but.
Thank you very much.
Welcome back to our show. In the second half of the hour, a very special guest, renowned demonologist, paranormal investigator, and the star of A Haunted Collector, which is still in simulcast, Mr. John Zaffis, is it not?
Yeah, they do. They do these mini marathons.
Yeah,
and I laugh because, again, the numbers are better now than when we freaking aired.
Isn't that weird?
I just think it's crazy because I just get hammered, and then I start hearing from some of them, and they'll go, John, you're getting better numbers on the freaking reruns than they do on some of the newer shows. And I go, well, that's good. At least, I'm still a little bit out there in the forefront.
Haunted Collector will become the Gilligan's Island of the paranormal. 35 years from now, we'll still be
still running, still. Listen, we have to kind of get back to topic because, in particular, something that Ken wanted to address, some recent updates and occurrences. John, you're kind of already familiar with a lot of it, but Ken, I want to turn it over to you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, one good turn deserves another. So we are actually going to bring in a surprise for you, John. There's a couple of people wanted to say hello to you because it's that kind of show. So these folks wanted to come by and say hello to
what the heck
to John tonight.
Yeah, what did we show up to?
I just saw this dancing video. John's got the moves. What the heck kind of show is this?
Hey, that's it. Okay, it's the best way I answer all that. That's at nighttime, and it's a different type of spirit. That's all I can tell you.
And we'll go with that. Damn right.
Good answer.
So, guys, thanks for popping in tonight because I said, I want you to come in and say hello to John because I know you guys are tight. And like us, you admire the guy so much.
But we love John.
John's awesome.
So are you guys.
But I tell you what, I wanted to get into something, and I don't want to necessarily rehash some of the things we've talked about on the show. We've had Cody and Satori on the last time they were on, or one of the last times they were on. John, you popped in to give your take on something.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to float something to you, an experience that happened maybe a week ago, wasn't that long ago. And we visited a place called the Colonial Inn, which is in Concord, Mass. John,
Mm-hmm.
I at least familiar with it. I'm not sure if you've been there or not. So we're in room 27 at the time, and I think that was the old morgue. So we're investigating that room because it is said to be one of the two most haunted rooms. So Cody and Satori are doing their technique. And you know how that goes with the alphabet, and we're spelling out. So I am on the phone at the time. And what I like to do, either check in real time or get some information. So I'm looking at information on a website about haunted hotels. I'm skipping around and I come to the Colonial Inn. Well, let's get some background on this. So I'm scrolling and I'm reading and maybe asking a couple of questions pertaining to that. So I keep scrolling. Now we're in room 27, and because I'm an idiot sometimes, they're talking about room 217, and all I'm seeing is the 2 and a 7. I still think I'm reading about the Colonial Inn. So I say, okay, I'm going to ask about someone, but I don't say who because I don't like want to put anything in anybody's head. And then while they're doing their thing, they get spelled out, Ken thinking about Elizabeth Wilson. All right, now I'm the only one. I got my phone like this, John. I'm the only one who sees what I'm reading. Now it gets weirder from here. So it says that she was the head housekeeper, and like, so I'm asked, what did you do for a living, Elizabeth? And she spells out housekeeper, and I'm like, okay, spot on, very good. They say that you remain here. Is that true? And I think she spelled out, they say 217.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. So the session ends. So I'm still on the phone and I'm scrolling, and then suddenly I realize that I have passed the 2 paragraphs, the section on the Colonial Inn. I was actually reading about the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado.
Okay.
In room 217, which is famously where Stephen King stayed and wrote The Shining. And Elizabeth Wilson is said to haunt room 217 at the Stanley Hotel in Estes, Colorado. I screwed up thinking I'm still reading about the Concorde. So you're telling me 2 things I want to talk about here. Number 1, this is the second time, and they'll back me up, this is the second time my mind has been read. The other time was at the Payne House Museum, and you know that place, where I didn't mention someone's name, and they came through, Ken thinking about me, and then spelled out the name Louise that I never mentioned, that I was in fact thinking about. The second part of this unbelievable thing is apparently this woman came in from Colorado, right? And nothing to do with where we were, but flew in, if you will, from Colorado to set the record straight. And I'm blown away by this. So what I want to do is, I told my little story here. I want to get out of the way for a little bit. And I wanted to ask all of you, Cody, Satori, you, Joe, whatever, because I lived it. What is the idea that this is the second time, and I don't think it's anything to do with me. It's not about me. It hasn't happened to anybody else yet. But this is the second time I seem to have had telepathically my thoughts read. Plus, this woman came in from wherever she is, like a siren call, to a place 3/4 of the way across the country, just simply because I was reading of her, dropped in and said, "Yeah, I'm from Colorado. I'm not even attached to this place, but I just wanted to come in and say a few things." So, guys, take it apart.
Well, in my opinion, I mean, at least the way Satori and myself look at everything is that, everything is energy. No matter if it's spoken out loud through a voice box, like our physical body here on Earth, or spiritually, it's the same energy. Our spirits move on from this realm to the next, and that is all energy. And we are a really true believer in intention. So whatever your intentions are, you obviously were thinking about her. Your energy was thinking about her. And I guess it's similar to prayer in a way, depending on what religion or religious background you come from. I heard this wonderful thing the other day that prayer is just focused intention. So you thinking about this woman and reading about this Mrs. Wilson, I think kind of maybe called her. I don't know. Your intentions were focused in on that woman's name, and maybe that it just brought her into the room.
I would like to hear John's idea about this, though, because it is in real time, and it seems we're accidentally reading people's minds. So
See, that's one of the things that I wanted to ask John, is that in the years he's done this, John, this idea of reading people, like I'm thinking about something, and then suddenly, I know it doesn't happen often. We don't get these EVPs and all the rest of this stuff, but this is twice now where someone has said, Ken's thinking about me right now. I mean,
I say I've witnessed it 2 or 3 times,
okay.
and it's unique. It's far and few in between when these connections do take place. Now, with the flip side of that, and Ken, I can understand that because we both take that step back and we look at everything because we have to analyze anything.
Right.
And then when, it happens and you're in the presence of it and it's occurring, it takes us time to process that. It still takes time to process it. So again, I look at it that, when I was with them and we were upstairs in the Conjuring house, I was all excited. I thought we were going to be picking up on, the Banshee and all the dead people, blah, 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 blah. I didn't think we're going to have to deal with my whole freaking family coming into the town. That's what blew my mind, was the fact that, again, like you just said, I really wasn't thinking about any of that. None of it was, that I was aware of until, it started getting into it and they were doing the connections and everything, because the tapping sound, I could still remember going back years ago when I was up at Lilydale. I became friends with several of the people up there, Jimmy Shaw, most of us all know him and everything. And the elderly women were doing the tap, rap, and I was watching it. I believe I was telling you guys about that. Again, it didn't really take me back. Didn't startle me or anything. As a matter of fact, I do. I think I turned to look at you and I go, I know that sound. And I said, you can't make that sound up. I said, that's something that muffles and comes through. And that happens on the psychic level, and starts bringing it through. But anyhow, with that and tying it in, Ken, it's far and few in between that it occurs with. Is it all energy? Absolutely. Are there certain people, and there's no doubt in my mind by this, you have certain connections to certain people that are around, and that energy is just going to start flowing. And the communications are going to open wide open. And some of the information is going to just start coming through. So again, there was one point in time when they were doing it and everything, they'll tell you everybody was sitting in the room and they hit on a couple of things. I had to leave the room because it just emotionally hit me, and I'm like, I said, this is incredible because I'm not standing here thinking about them and they're communicating. But the bizarre thing, Ken, and this is the reason it sticks in my mind so much, was, I was driving back home and everything, excuse me, and wandering about. I was just in one of those types of frames of mind. I came home and everything, and I logged onto Facebook, and it was like a ton of bricks hit me. That was the anniversary of my mom's death that night. I didn't remember it. I wasn't even thinking about it. Nothing. And then it was like, holy cow, all of it just hit because my father came through, a couple of other people came through that night, and I'm like, why are they all coming through? And it just amazed me with the connections and everything, but the kids are good. The kids are good.
I've got to tell you again where my mind went when Ken called me. He actually sent a message first and said, be prepared. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I've got to explain what has now transpired. And when he told me about this, again, my mind went in 900 different directions. But the one thing that came to mind for me...
I can't wait till you experience it because I know you.
I wish these 2,000 miles between Florida and New England are the longest distance I've ever experienced in my life. It's just, I wish I could be there to experience with them. But I am, through Ken explaining this to me and what is transpiring right now. And for those of you who are kind of lost what this whole thing is going on, you're going to have to go back here on the Dead at Full Spectrum, probably about 2 months ago, with the first discussion about this new procedure, this new conduit in Cody and Satori and what is transpiring. But this latest epiphany and this discovery made me think we are, as Ken was, again, he was jokingly describing it. Here comes this lady all the way from Estes Park, Colorado, and takes a flight in. Is there just a simple room in a sense that all knowledge, all consciousness is around everywhere all the time, which makes it so easy for John's family to show up, for Ken's family to show up, for some of these other people who have been involved, to Julie's family also, to just be there in the blink of an eye. That it is not what we tend to do a lot of the times is still put a physical presence on these spirits. They're not. So we are still not aware of what it is that they are or who they are on the other side, but we are still developing this, as John has used it, we've used it before, the tip of an iceberg that's underwater in murky waters. We're still just at the tip, discovering what these guys are now learning to craft and master. And Ken was, laughing at me, but I said, seriously, would that not be a possibility that we could contact anyone from the past instantly? And by we, I mean Rise Up Paranormal, Ken and Cody and Satori and the entire crew there, Julie filming everything. Thank God she's documenting everything. But, I guess my question goes to Cody and Satori then. Do you guys have conversations after these experiences and go, where do we go next?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a lot to take in, and I think when we're in the moment, holding hands and doing what we do, it doesn't hit you right away. I don't think, because we've been doing this for a while now, and we kind of, at first, and we were talking about this last night actually. At first, we used to get really emotional with the people that we were doing a reading for or something. Because it's an emotional thing. People usually start breaking down and crying because they're hearing from somebody that they've missed for a long time, and it definitely gets emotional for us. So over time, we've kind of started to block that out in a sense, the best way I can say it, because I think it takes a toll on us emotionally when we're dealing with that stuff.
And now on Ken,
on the ride home. That's when it kind of starts sinking in, like, what the heck just happened? So we have had those conversations.
We do wonder what's next. We do wonder that a lot. And also with your comment about, will we ever be able to talk to somebody from history or from maybe a long time ago kind of instantly? We can't do it on command as far as we know right now. That's not saying it won't change in the future.
Right.
But we have talked to people from a long, long time ago, and it's a lot seemingly easier than you think. The oldest person we've communicated with right now was from the 1640s, 1650s.
Jeez.
So that's pretty far back. But we can do it. It's just, it depends on who's there. If they want to talk, we can't really just kind of call them to us.
Right. It seems like whoever comes through has some sort of connection with either the building that we're in or the living people that are around us. And a lot of times, the people, when spirit comes through and wants to give a message to somebody, the person that is supposed to receive that message is already waiting for it in a way. They've been missing this person for a long time. They've been thinking about them, and we found that it also has to revolve, and this kind of brings in John in a way, that when these spirits come through and when we unintentionally meet these people, it's usually on a date that was important to the person that's communicating. It's been more times than just John where we brought a spirit through, and it was on a date that was either their birthday or the day they passed away. So I think the universe is just so much bigger than what we can comprehend, and I think things are at play that we will never understand. Who knows, what this will be like in a year from now. It definitely has evolved as far as communication wise, and there's just so much that we can't explain, and I don't know if we'll have the answers to it.
I've got to ask this one question, Ken, before you
Yep.
get to it. And this is the last one that I have, but it is for John because it is part of the paranormal, one way, shape, or form. This topic will rear its ugly head. So let's jump ahead of it.
You might be
In
1,000 miles away, but I could still come to you.
in in
Yeah,
the
there's nothing disturbing about that, right?
let the nightmares begin. No, when Cody and Satori have been doing this, and again, the success rate is off the charts. It's 100%. Nobody can state that here in the field. It's 100% on the success rate. So here's my question to you, because it is going to be posed. People are going to ask about it. With your background in demonology, that there's nothing malevolent occurring during any of these procedures, during any of these contacts. There's not something coming up, giving some sort of a biblical name of something that is nefarious or evil. Why do you think that that is not present or apparent during these sessions?
Okay, first off, I always try to take that step back and look at the big picture of it first. And my whole thing is this is all PK, okay, psychic kinetic energy, and it's all being drawn upon. Now, that's not to say anything, on a darker level or something malevolent or something can come through. It's probably going to happen sooner or later. I mean, again, these things occur, things can come through. I mean, to me, I look at all of it the same way. When we're doing EVPs, we could get something, on a nasty level. Doing seances, doing spirit communication, doing anything. Eventually, you could be coming up against something that is going to occur, and it could be on a darker level. There's no guarantees. It's far and few in between when a lot of that happens. Again, when you have those experiences. But again, I think just like anything, it's a learning tool. And then and you understand at that point, okay, when they're doing it and they're going back and forth and something shifts, something doesn't feel right. I watched them a couple times when they would back right off and go, okay, we need to take a break. It's getting a little bit. And right then and there, I went, okay, they're watching what they're doing. They're comprehending what they're doing and they're understanding it. But it's just like any of us eventually, sooner or later, there's a crazy, ticky tack tack shit that happens that, something whacked out comes through that could be on a negative level or a darker level. And again, it's part of it. And it's all things that occur and happen. And they always occur and happen when you least expect it. That's what happens with me. I know that. And when I least expect it, or, I'm getting involved with something, boom, all of a sudden you got to be guarded and careful because, it's a chance each and every one of us takes when we do anything, when evoking spirit or getting involved with the realm of the supernatural.
Yeah. I want to take it in just because I'm going to go in about 5 different directions, so bear with me here. I'm going to jump around. One of the things, John, you've studied a lot of comparative religions. I know whether it's the Far East, Buddhism. So
yes,
in many cultures, let's talk about that rarest of all things that everybody likes to jump on because everybody's getting possessed out here, right? Everybody on TV is getting possessed. Everybody on YouTube, everybody's getting possessed. In some cultures, possession is considered a form of enlightenment. And in some cultures, and you can talk to this better than me, Native American, there's a lot of cultures, they call on the wisdom of their ancestors for enlightenment and knowledge going forward. And they accept this, ritually, ceremoniously, they do this. When you talk about Christianity, especially Catholicism, no bueno. You can't go there and do this. So what I wanted to ask you about is the differences and like they're diametrically opposed to each other. We're still talking about human beings here, but there's less of an embrace of that. And because of Christianity, Catholicism, is that why we're so fascinated by it? And we think it happens so often because it's just something that's taboo?
Okay. Okay. I'm going to go with first part to this. Believe it or not, Ken, when we talk about the Christian perspective of it, they do believe in the possession of human spirit and non-human spirit. But what always cracked me up for up teen years is they don't call it psychic or psychic abilities or mediums. It's discernment. That's how they refer to it, discernment. And I can't tell you how many times I would be where I would see nuns going into discernment or priests going into discernment. And you guys know me well enough now. I stand there and turn and look at them. Well, what the hell's the difference between that and channeling and everything else? There's no difference. But anyhow, we know how all that goes. Now, I am so fascinated when I do work with anybody, when you're dealing with the Buddhists, they'll bring a person in and they channel the spirit through when they're doing clearings or they're trying to do, and the person will go right in and the spirit will go through them. They'll talk to them. And, it's one of the most amazing things. Native American, I've seen the same thing where a shaman will just go so deep into it, communicating and bringing the spirit through and everything. So again, now here's another one too. A lot of people don't even realize it with Judaism. They have what they call a sayer, that is a religious person that comes in, and there's different methods that they do, depending, again, on the sect of Judaism, and they'll communicate and do the same thing. And I take that step back and I look at all this and I'm going, what is different from this person doing it, that person doing it? And yet we look at it and we judge it. And again, it's hysterical because witnessing it and seeing all of it, Ken, I view it differently. If that makes any sense to you?
Yeah.
I just do, and look at it. Well, look at how in Christianity 370 years ago, they used to believe in reincarnation. Then one of the kings decided, no, they didn't want it in there anymore, one of the bishops. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. These things get removed, and it's complicated when you get behind the scenes and you start dealing with a lot of the religions and the foundation on what they believe and what they don't believe in comparison to what they say out in the forefront. It's very complicated and it gets very confusing to a lot of people.
It seems to me that we argue semantics a lot, whether it's discernment or, what is the difference between that and, say, the phenomenon known as walk-ins that there are in some cultures? A walk-in, someone who comes in and, takes over a body. It's just, we just don't want to say possession because it's a dirty word, or
correct.
So we homogenize it and come up with something that's a little bit more palatable that we can swallow a little bit, because we don't want to talk about possession,
But okay, here's the number one key thing when people talk to me about possession, and they'll say to me, well, they're possessed, they need an exorcism. No, you don't. You can't take the stance on that, because possession is spirit entering the physical body, whether it's human spirit or it's something on a negative level. It's still both the same thing. Now, here is a counter to some of this that, blows a lot of people's minds. They'll say, well, if you're a Catholic and you're being possessed by human spirit, it still has to be exorcised out. You have people that do channeling. You have people that do, and they bring it through. I mean, there's so many different things that all, even with the paganism, Wiccan, and all that, you have to take all of this into consideration, because I've seen that. I have a lot of very good witch friends. And again, I've watched them where they've gone into a deep meditative string, and spirit would communicate and go back and forth with them. Does that mean the devil took them over? No, I don't necessarily believe that. So again, I'm, very controversial, even though I'm Roman Catholic. I've always been like this. I've never changed and always took the stance. And, again, look at it that it probably would be viewed a lot differently if everything wasn't used, 2,000 years ago to try to control everything, and things might be looked at a little bit differently, today. We're fortunate. A lot of things are more open now too. So, again,
I
too,
think, the psychological aspect of this is something that, and I've always preached this to anybody who cares to listen, who wants to go into the paranormal, to remind you're not psychologists. Maybe some of you are. God bless. You did your 8 years, you got your PhD, whatever. If you have one available to you, good for you. It'll come in handy. Now, you guys, I'm around a lot, but I'm not around you all the time. And I don't know everything that you've ever done. Do you guys ever believe that you've ever encountered something evil, negative, demonic, whatever you want to call it? I know you've probably, because people love to self-diagnose themselves because of what they see in movies and TV. Oh my God, come quick, I have a demon. Based on what? Well, I don't know. But have you guys, in the, short lives you've lived so far, ever honestly really encountered something? Full disclosure, I don't believe I ever have. I'm not in a hurry for it. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but you ever encountered something like that? Because I know you're going to call John when you do, and I don't think you've called him yet. So, but you tell me.
Not yet.
Not yet. No. We definitely
have dealt with negative.
Yeah, I mean, and like John said, I think we really have to trust our own, bodies when it comes to this, our own senses, because you can definitely feel when something is a bit off.
You get a sick feeling when we do our thing.
Right.
And if we think something's not very right, sometimes we'll just feel very sick, or we'll feel more drained than usual. And then we kind of know from there, if the questions aren't lining up, or we're getting some strange responses, then we know to go like, okay, we're going to break this.
Right. Is it like that with you when you have no physical contact with each other? You still get those kind of vibes?
Not as amplified.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's not as amplified. And we're not calling that, when we feel like that, that we're in the presence of a demon or something like that. I just think, everybody's personalities are different. We definitely come across some people that are definitely mean,
very nasty,
and have definitely drained us a lot more, if that makes sense. I don't know if there's a correlation. If you have a bad attitude, that you get drained more energy wise. I definitely think it just takes a lot out of you, because they're definitely feeding off of that energy, it seems like. I can't say for certain.
But when something like that does happen, we have, in a way, sort of mastered the art of saying, we're going to break this off. So we break it off, and then we give it some time. We have a time period where we just kind of separate. Sometimes we'll leave a room, do it in another room. And after a while, it seems the energy just kind of dissipates.
Well, it sounds to me, Satori, you're not doing anything much different in that. You do it maybe intuitively, but you're not doing much different than John. You've got to go through the same thing where it's just time to call time out sometimes, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Now, regardless of, I think, anything, when, that's one of our best advantages, to always use that sense of knowing, okay, you know what, it's time, to back off. I've been on cases, again, where there's situations I'm uncomfortable, whether it's the spirit or the living, because I don't know, a lot of times I fear the living more than the dead. But anyhow, you have to know when to take that stance and when to say to yourself, okay, it's just time to back off of this whole situation right now. Come back and, maybe readdress it, or, I've done that a lot of times, Ken, where I'll take that step back, because again, too, like Beanie, I call him Beanie, and that's the horse kid. Anyways, when we look at that, and we take that step back, that to me is a signal, and letting us know that there's just something that's just not right. There's something that's just, and I always follow that no matter what I'm doing. I always have, I always will. There's, I don't know how else to actually explain that, but I watched them too when that was going on, when we were up in the attic of the Conjuring house.
Mhm.
And again, too, I always, Ken, you and I probably do the same thing. We study people. I know, and I know you do it because I do it. And you watch people, because that tells you a lot about an individual, what to expect, what not to expect. Is this person going to go off the deep end? It's a natural thing. I think you learn after being involved with investigating.
You can call it street smarts if you want.
There you go. I call it street smarts too. That I do too, because we have a lot of people that just don't get it. But again, you have to have that to be able to guard yourself with a lot of these things.
I'm going to, before I want to bring George back in here, I got one other thing. I've been on this kick lately about this DIY investigator thing. With so many shows, so much social media, all of these things, people look at this and say, oh, I can do this. So we talked about a little bit before. They go out and buy a K2 meter and a recorder and all this stuff, and they're doing it in their house. And again, they self-diagnose themselves because I can handle this type of thing. Because I've seen a downturn talking to a lot of groups out there that they're not doing as much, and we have to factor COVID into that as well. I mean, for us, we found ourselves in this windfall of stuff lately. It's not the norm, but we've got all these things that are coming. It's great, and they'll all go away because it's cyclical, and then we'll be sitting there waiting for the phone to ring again 6 months from now. That's just the way it goes. I just want to get your feelings on this, where it's not like we're not needed anymore, but it just seems like people are getting educated through whatever, through books, television, and I don't know, where is the line? Where's the danger in that? Is there a danger in that? Or, is it just the idea that, hey, what the hell are we supposed to do about it? That's the way it is. John, what do you think about that? And then I'll ask Cody Satori.
I definitely I can't get over how much you and I are freaking alike. Wow.
Yeah, well, it's just
again too. I say, what is our relevance anymore? I say, when I'm talking to somebody, I'll be going back and forth. I go, what the hell is my everybody? What are you even asking for?
Right.
Again, I still look at it from the perspective of the fact that it is different now. Everything is so different, and it's due to the amount that's out there and a lot of the things that are occurring and happening. But I still don't feel that you can ever replace people that have been experienced, people that have gained, some of the knowledge of the things that transpired throughout the course of the years.
Sure.
That can't go away. That can't just disappear. At least I want to think that. So, when I look at that, I understand. I call it the movement, the new movement. And everybody laughs at me when I say that, because now it's like, well, I watched this, or I saw this, and this is how they do it, and that's how they're going to do it, and blah, 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 and we're going to do it like this. How come you're not doing this, and how come you're not doing that? And I'll reach a point where, do you want freaking help? Are you interested? What are you interested in? What do you want at the end, at the end of all this? Because a lot of times, Ken, I think people call us in for freaking entertainment to investigate their houses.
Been there, done that. They can tell you about it. There's not a one of us who hasn't been in that situation.
Yeah.
Where you go over and mom's there, the aunt, the daughter, my sister-in-law who loves all the ghost shows. She's there too. I know.
But again, I think it's even to the point where it's even more now, with that occurring and happening. But I think one of the hardest things is that, when people just start coming back at me, no, it's like this. No, it's like that. No, I watched this one do that. I watched this one do this and do that. And I'm like, okay, and it just makes it a little bit more difficult today, because I think the other thing too is I think the majority of people don't have a problem wanting to go on a TV show anymore. It's not like it used to be. I mean, with a lot of the, lighter cases or things that I get involved with, I've noticed that. You think this will be good for, going on Ghost Hunters or any of the shows, and I'll go, well, I don't know, freaking call them. What are you asking me for? I said,
I always worry about that. It's like, and Cody said, like, I don't know if you've ever thought about this or whatever, because you're currently doing television, but there are people that I've seen that are in these shows, and I just wonder how much that they get called on a case, because I know it does ramp up if you're on TV, because that means, so, but I can't get over the idea that maybe somewhere in the back of their minds, they're thinking, I hope this is a great case, because this would be a really good one for TV.
Mm-hmm.
And how much that affects their approach.
Yep.
So we'll give you guys a final word on that. How do you feel about that? We're not calling people out. We don't do that here, but I'm just saying that's got to affect you a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've seen it on both ends. We've seen it on the client end, where we've shown up on TAPS cases, on private cases for a home team that's not, anything involved with production. And people have been dressed up in really nice fancy clothes with their makeup and hair done, thinking that the show is coming in, and have elaborately made the story sound a lot better than what it actually is. So there definitely is people that's their main goal. We've also had other cases where parents are coaching their children to say certain things to make it sound better. We would interview the child, interview the parents. And they're coaching their child to say stuff to hopefully get a story, whether it's a book or a television show or things like that.
And sadly, we've also seen it on the flip side, where some people who are what Ken would call a DIY investigator or something like that, just trying to kind of use the field to get big in their own way, they found a case that they think is something, and they've blown it completely out of proportion, and they've scared the families, and they've scared people to try to say, this is going to be a big case. I can try to sell this case to television or to movies one day, or write a book about it. But it's really just they blew it out of proportion what it is. And then you have to go and comfort the families, because they're absolutely terrified that they think they have a demon in their house, when in reality, it's not the case.
Right. Yeah. And, there's, for the DIY investigators, that's the big thing right now. As you mentioned, Ken, there's a ton of people that are getting into this because of that. And we've seen it definitely, on TikTok and stuff. When we do our TikTok videos and stuff like that, that's the big thing. Urban exploring, paranormal investigating, learning yourself. And the people that are serious and want to become serious about this, that are starting the DIY through the DIY movement, they're avoiding all of the research that people like John have done for the decades that he's been involved in the paranormal. People like you, Ken, and George, and the Society for Psychical Research. All the papers that have been published through them, or Hans Holzer, all the Hans Holzer books and things like all these pioneers that did so much research and built this huge foundation for the paranormal field. If you seriously want to get involved in this from a DIY perspective, read about what's been done, because a lot of it's been done before, and people have learned from their mistakes and written it down, so you can read it yourself. So that's
speaking of, anybody who's interested, there you go, folks.
There it is. Read it. John's always going to be relevant,
right? There you go.
I'm always going to be something.
That's it.
I'm so looking forward to that, because I don't care if I'm 80, 90 years old. I want that freaking cane so I can hit people.
Oh, you don't have one of those already?
Not yet, Ken.
first, I want to say thank you, guys, for joining us tonight. And it's so wonderful to see you, John. And Cody and Satori, stop trying to take my job from me, okay? I appreciate that. But
Wally Pipp. Wally Pipp. Look it up. Google it.
Yeah, killing it. And you know, you kind of ruined my whole plan tonight. Cody and Satori, I figured you would be in the museum, and this would be the first time two haunted museums on a show at the same time, which of course Discovery would steal in about 6 months. But it was our idea.
Give it 24 hours.
Yeah.
Somebody's paying attention to this right now.
But
I know
and I apologize, guys, that we didn't have the open phones tonight. As you can tell, we had a lot to cover with our guest this evening. 60 seconds, each of you, on what's upcoming, Cody and Satori, at least in the near future for you guys. What's happening?
Well, the next event we have is Pennsylvania, Hotel Conneaut. We're going out there. We'll have about 8 objects from the museum at that event. Very limited tickets left. It's an overnight investigation. I think there's less than 10 rooms available now for that. And then New Jersey Paranormal Unity Expo, Michigan Paracon are the big ones that are coming
And
up.
all that money goes towards funding for our museum to hopefully get a permanent location one day and take care of them the way they should be. And if anybody else wants to know more about our events, check out paranormalcouple.com and the events tab.
Fantastic. And
John,
Mr.
John will
Zaffis.
be in the moonlight.
Yes. John, what's coming up for you, John?
I'm off to Arizona in a couple of weeks. Gig out there, Haunted Town. Looking forward to that, and going to be seeing these two kids here at several of the events coming up. So it'll be a lot of fun to start getting back out there, hanging out, and trying to just have some fun again.
We're going to cause trouble when we're all together. It's going to be a lot of trouble.
Be careful, because I get arrested. George got me arrested when we were in Florida.
It was on a bet. No. It was on a bet. No big deal. But, we're up against the clock, guys. We got another show upcoming here, and I want to thank you guys for joining us. Monday Night Monsters debuts here on Dead Air Full Spectrum on March 7th. Make sure you do check it out. It's going to be a fantastic show. Extremely Strange is still doing wonderful. Make sure you guys check that out. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget also the reminder bell and the thumbs up. John Zaffis, Cody Satori, thank you guys again, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, guys.
See ya.
You bet.
Take care.